Hi folks, today I'm going to talk about measuring audio advertising effectiveness with surveys on Pandora. Over the 5 years that I've been at Pandora, we have built two tools for experimentally measuring the effectiveness of audio advertising. The first is automated experimental delivery, the second is Pandora surveys. Automated experimental delivery allows us to specify a control group with a given percentage of listeners that should be held out from a given audio ad campaign, so they're not exposed to it, deliberately not exposed. And it uses ghost ads to log counterfactual impressions in the control group. That is, we say, we're ready to play you a McDonald's ad, but at the last minute we say, oh, no, wait, this person's in the control group. Let's not play them a McDonald's ad, but let's write down that we would have played them a McDonald's ad, and then let's move on to the next ad, the next best ad available. Maybe we play you a Hershey's ad instead. And that allows us to examine only the treated individuals, and that gives us improved statistical precision over what would otherwise have to be an intent to treat analysis with a lot of dilution, a whole bunch of people in the treatment group who didn't actually get treated because we don't know who in the control group would have gotten treated. So if we know who got treated, we can throw away everybody who if we know who would have gotten treated and we know who did get treated, we can throw everybody else away and we get much more precise estimates. This also allows us to target surveys only to those people who either got the ad or would have gotten the ad. Now, Pandora Surveys is based on our sponsored listening ad product, which invites listeners to watch a video ad, and in return, they will earn an hour of ad-free listening, no audio ads interrupting your music for an hour. We adapted this product so that we would substitute, instead of a video ad from a sponsor, we would say, answer several multiple choice questions on a survey for us and you'll earn your hour of ad-free listening. The primary motivation here is to be able to measure the impact of audio ad campaigns. We can now use these surveys for other research purposes, but the primary goal here was to make sure that we always have some way to evaluate how effective is an ad campaign, because getting actual purchase outcome data from advertisers is very difficult in most cases. I've tried really hard to do it, but there's no way we can do it systematically. So we wanted a tool that would work for everyone. Here's how it works. The listener sees an invitation right here. Interact to start your hour of uninterrupted listening from Pandora Surveys. Click here. You go to the first multiple choice question, second multiple choice question, third multiple choice question, fourth multiple choice question. Once you click that one, click your last answer, you go back to listening to the music, you get an hour of uninterrupted listening. And you know, the questions are things like, do you remember hearing an ad from name of retail store, you know, maybe it's Home Depot, maybe it's Nordstrom, on Pandora during the past month. And we ask other questions like that to see whether we can find a treatment control difference in what people remember or think about that advertiser's brand. So we first implemented the system last year, and we've run more than 50 ad experiments with surveys so far. Here we're going to focus on our 38 clean campaigns where we didn't have any problems, and we have over 100,000 observations in total, because for each campaign we try to get 2,000 surveys in treatment and 2,000 surveys in control. The survey length varies from 2 to 6 questions. We have 2 to 3% of those invited take up the survey and complete it. If you start the survey, you're 90% likely to finish it. We have multiple takes of the same survey by the same individual, so we actually have to throw out 25% of our observations as duplicates. We retain only the first time you've taken the survey. And then there's limited retaking across ad campaigns. So if I look at each person in each ad campaign, we find that 93% of the observations for a given ad campaign are individuals who were not found in any other ad campaign. Here I'm going to show you what our outcomes look like. Let's focus on the upper left first. This is ad recall. So do you remember hearing an ad for this advertiser on Pandora in the past week, typically we'll say. And here we have sorted our treatment effects from lowest to highest, and we've put 95% confidence intervals on them. They're typically around plus or minus 3% because we have 2,000 observations per group. The lift is defined to be the treatment control difference in the fraction of people who answer the question correctly. And so typically for ad recall, we'll get something like 25% of listeners will say they remember hearing this ad in the control group where we didn't play the ad for them. So that's a little frustrating. I think some people don't take the question seriously. I think other people have heard the ad elsewhere, like on television, and they can't remember where they heard it. So we'll get like 25% in the control group, and then if the lift is 6%, it'll be 25% in control, 31% in treatment. So this is the percentage point difference between treatment and control. So you'll see that this is really nice. Almost all of our treatment effects are positive, and about half of them are statistically significant at the 5% level. As we continue to work on improving our precision, doing things like figuring out how to eliminate duplicate ads and duplicate surveys from the same person, I think we're going to continue to shrink these confidence intervals. Now, it turns out to be much harder to measure other things that marketers are interested in. So this is sentiment. How favorably do you feel about the brand advertised? How likely are you to consider purchasing the advertised product? How likely are you to recommend this product to a friend? It's really hard to get significant results on any of those questions. Given variance in individual behavior, the impacts of advertising are very small compared to that variance. And so even with 2,000 people in treatment versus control, it's hard to say anything statistically significant. I think most marketers are finding significant effects on things like this because they are not running clean experiments, and they're getting a whole bunch of selection bias whenever they look at people who are endogenously exposed versus endogenously unexposed. But when we do clean experiments, we're holding ourselves to a higher standard, and it's much harder to get good results. But this stuff is very exciting to me. It's hard to do this for advertising campaigns. Now I want to talk about the number of ads that you hear. Sometimes I call this ad frequency. So this ranges from, 1 to 13 on this graph, how many times you heard that ad on a given ad campaign. And you can see it's upward sloping. So the treatment effects get bigger for people who are hearing more ads. Note that this is not necessarily a causal effect. It's suggestive, but the ad exposure is not exogenously varied here. The only thing we're doing exogenously is turning the ads on versus off to the treatment and the control groups. We are not exogenously varying the number of times you hear the ad. This is endogenous in the sense that somebody who hears 12 ads is likely to have listened to Pandora an awful lot more than somebody who only hears 2 ads. And we always find in ad effectiveness research that people who listen more and hear more ads act differently in other ways than people who listen less and hear less ads. So this suggests that more frequency does help, but we can't take this to the bank as a causal effect. However, we have done one experiment for one of our own Pandora products where we advertised 0 to the control group, a single dosage to the first treatment group, a double dosage of ads to the second treatment group, and a triple dosage of ads to the third treatment group. So we're deliberately booking extra ad impressions to one treatment group compared to another. And what happens there? Well, when we triple the ad load, we see increases in the treatment effect. We asked 3 different questions, one of them in green, one in blue, one in red. You can see that when we move from a single dosage to a double dosage to a triple dosage, it goes up. However, it does not triple. These are the increases are not 200%, but rather 75, 53, and 83%. So there's some diminishing returns. Okay, I'm totally out of time now. So let me just leave you with this still slide with some final thoughts about what it is we're doing and what we plan to do in future. Thanks for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.